Hello friends and welcome back to our channel Study Quiz. This is another video that we have been launching today on the series that we have, that is on the complete crash course for class 11th maths ISC especially. So if you haven't watched those videos, then please go and watch those videos. They will be of much help to you related to trigonometry, related to sequence and series, quadratic equations, inequalities, binomial expansion and many more. So you can watch them, right? And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, then please do subscribe and please comment us in the comment section below then what can we do to improve and to provide you with a good content, and do like, share and subscribe to our channel. So let us quickly start with this another topic. It is there and it is a part, another, actually it is, we can say another series it is there. That is basically we are starting with the probability part, and this is the first chapter for it, statistics, that is the measures of central tendency. This chapter I believe to be the easiest in the entire book that is there for class 11th ISC, because this is something that you have already done in your previous classes, especially in class 10th also you are having it, so you might be having a quick revision of it actually. So let us start with it. What are we going to do and what are we going to study in this chapter, that is measures of central tendency. So we only have to do the mean portion. Median and the mode is not a part of our syllabus. We only have to do the mean. Mean means the average of something. That is very much clear. That is mean. That means the average of a certain number of terms that is given to us. So measures of central tendency. Why are we using all these terms? Like, what is the need of studying them? It is definitely not possible for all of us to remember each and every term, each and every digit that is there when a large number of things are given to us. Suppose any sort of calculations we are making, or suppose let us assume that we went to the grocery shop and there we bought a certain number of things, and then we need to remember the prices for all of them. Now, is it possible for us to remember them? At least there you can remember, you can remind yourself of it. But when it comes to the bigger things and larger things, then it is not possible for us to remember and to recall all the values. And so for that, to make our calculation, to make our life easier, we get introduced to certain concepts which are quite helpful for us, so that we don't have to go into much detail about things, and on an average value, we call it on an average. So on an average means that is the approx value that you can get, which lies in between the terms which we are considering. Let us assume, like if suppose I have got 1, 3, 5, 2, 6, 7. These are the terms that are given to me. Now I say that I have to find out the range. That means if I have to know that what is the particular a way that I can say in which these terms are going to lie, then I'll be finding the average for it. Okay. So what will be provided by the average, what will I get by the average is that when I'll be finding out the average of these terms, then I'll be able to get a value, one particular value I'll be getting, which will be lying in between these terms, and with the help of that term which I'm getting, I can get an idea that okay, now all the terms which are left out, they are forming a part of that, means they are a part of that particular term only, nearby they are lying. So that is the use of average that is there, or the mean, actually basically the measures of central tendency. So we quickly have to do the mean part. Mean, that is the arithmetic mean, and that is another name for it is average in our simple words. So quickly seeing to it, because we have done it, so it's like although I'm making a video on it, but you don't require it as such, I think. So let's quickly see to it. We have got the mean, that is the average. Now we know, before starting with, let us see certain symbols which are there. Okay, this is X I say, and this is X bar, and whenever I am writing bar, then it in itself means that I am talking about the average or the mean. That means if I write X bar, that means the mean or the average of X terms it is given, or N terms or whatever. This is the symbol that we use for the mean or the average, right? This is the first thing. Second thing is that if we have a frequency or if we have the number of terms, then we generally represent it with the help of N. Number of terms with the help of N. Okay. Now the third thing is that okay, now we talk about the summation, that is sigma part. Sigma we haven't started yet. If you have done it, then it's well and good. But let me just introduce you to that part also, that is the sigma part. So what is this sigma? The symbol for it, I generally write it like this. Now what this sigma means, this is sigma, read as sigma, and the sigma means summation of terms. Summation means, like if I have to write like say 1, 2, 3, 4 up till n, suppose I am continuing, then I am not going to write 1, 2, 3, 4 up till n. Like I told you previously also, just 2-3 minutes before, that we are trying to simplify our calculation. We are trying to find out certain ways by which we can get our solution, so that we don't have to remember all the terms. And so for that we did this thing. That means in place of 1 to 10 n, I can write simply sigma, let us say sigma I, okay, or let us say sigma x, it is there, sigma x, such that x is lying from 1 to n. Now this is the lower limit and this is the upper limit. So here we write the limits. Below the sigma portion and above the sigma sign which is there, we write the limits, that is sigma. Okay, so sigma is there, but sigma, that is summation of x, is there, and this x is lying from 1 to n. That means x, these are the terms which I consider to be x, and these terms are starting from 1, which is a lower limit, and ending till n, which is my upper limit. So I hope this part is very much clear, that this is why we are writing the sigma. Okay, this is also done. So now coming to the mean portion, that is the, what do we mean by mean, or arithmetic mean, or simply the average that is there. So if I have got these terms like x1, x2, x3, x4 up till xn, then I have to find out the mean or the average of these terms. And how will I do it? So I can write mean as sigma x. Right now only I told you. Okay, sigma bar. Actually, sorry, this is x bar, not sigma. This is x bar. Now this x bar could be written as sigma. I can write of what? xi. Let us consider it to be xi. Now this I is starting from 1, 2, 3 up till n. So my lower limit for I is 1 and the upper limit for I is n. Can I write it like this? Okay, this is the summation of all the terms, and the formula for my mean or average is summation of all the terms, that means total number of observations which are there, dividing them with the number of observations which is there. Okay, total summation that is there of all the terms of all the observations upon the total number of observations that are provided to me. So this I can divide with what? With n, because n number of terms I am having, 1, 2, 3 up till n. So is this clear? Now instead of writing this, if you have to simply remember it, then you can write simply that is x bar is equal to sigma x upon n also, where in this you know already that sigma x means the summation of all the terms dividing by the total number of terms which are given to us. This is the general formula that you have, and the basic formula, the most simplest formula that you have for calculating the mean, and this is also known as the direct method. Direct method, where you are simply calculating the summation of all the terms and dividing by the number of terms. Now second kind of formula that you have is basically that is the shortcut method. Now what is that shortcut method and why are we using it? So sometimes it is like over here we were having in terms of x. We'll be getting questions in terms of values also. Till the time they are the smaller values of smaller magnitude, it's fine with us. But when we get the values of larger magnitude, then it becomes difficult for us to solve them, to simplify them. And so to reduce those calculations which are there, the mathematicians which are the great mathematicians, they derive certain formulas, and on them on their basis we can get us calculations which are there simplified or easier. Let us see the shortcut method that is there. So let my terms be like this only. Now what we do in the shortcut method is, out of the number of terms which are given, out of all the terms which are given to me, I am going to assume a certain number, that is basically the assumed mean. So that is up to us, it is on our discretion that we can choose any number. Now that is our thing, and we generally choose the middle term so that when we subtract the terms, then it becomes easier for us. Now how do we do it? So let us take an example for it, not in terms of x because we don't know what is x and all. Okay? हमको नहीं पता x क्या होता. We know simply the numbers. Let us solve with the help of numbers only. Therefore, okay. So let us say. Okay, now let us, for the matter being, just take 5 numbers. We take 2, then we take 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, this is x. That is given to me. Okay. Now, what I do is, I take, let us say the middle term over here is 4 and let me assume it to be my assumed mean. Assumed mean because I am assuming it to be so. This is my assumed mean. Now what I do is, I simply subtract whatever be the value for x that I subtract with my assumed mean. There I get my deviation, that is the mean deviation. The deviation that is there. Okay. So this deviation now. Then the summation of these deviations dividing by the number of terms plus the assumed mean will give me the mean again, and this is the formula for my shortcut method for calculating the arithmetic mean. That is x bar is equal to a plus sigma d upon n, or you can write sigma d I upon n, and I you can write over here from 1 to n, or whatever be the matter, whatever be the case with you. So I hope this part is clear now, that is of assumed mean. So we can consider any number to be the assumed mean. It is up to us, but we generally take the middle of the terms so that when we subtract, because now we have to subtract, that means let me just solve it for you. If I have this, I have to get d, that is equal to what? X minus a. So x is 2 minus a, that is 4. That gives me 2. That gives to me minus 2. Then over here I have 3 minus 4. That gives me minus 1. Then I have 4 minus 4. That gives me 0. Over here 5 minus 4. That gives me 0. It's 1 over here. And then I have 6 minus 4. That gives me 2. Then I will be adding it because I want the summation for it, sigma. And then in this case I am getting it 0. In this case I am getting it 0. Now my formula has become a plus sigma d upon n. So sigma d in itself is 0. That means I will be getting this as 4 plus 0 upon 5. 0 upon 5 is 0. That means 4 plus 0. And so my mean comes out to be 4 in this case. So I hope this example is clear, and with this example we have understood this shortcut method also. If you want, then copy it down, will be easier for you. Now after this we come to the step deviation method. Third method that we have for solving is the step deviation method. Now when terms are even more larger and we want to get them even more simplified, then we use the step deviation method, and this method is generally used whenever we are having a common, like a ratio is there between them. That means the numbers which are the deviations which are there. The deviations which are there, because I will be getting d1, d2, d3 up till dn, whatever be the number that we are having. So in them, if I see any number which can divide all of them, like in this case I was having 1. 1 could have divided all these numbers. Then in that case, when I am having a common ratio between them which can divide all these numbers, then in that case I use my step deviation method. Let us see this method also. So we will have to find out the deviation part, and then after deviation we will be having the question that is there. So we will be finding out the deviation like we found out for this one. So quickly see this example only. So we have got the deviations, right? Now after deviations I can see, this is the value for d. Now after deviation part I can see that I am having 1 over here which can divide all these terms. So this 1, now this 1 becomes my I. So I is equal to 1. We represent it with the help of I, which is the number which is dividing all these deviations. Therefore I call it as I, and the formula for my step deviation method is x bar is equal to a plus sigma ft into I upon sigma f. Or if you have n over there, then you can get n. That means whatever be the frequency that is there. Okay, now frequency one, we'll come to it. Just now seeing for this example only, then we'll come to the frequency portion also. Okay, so this is my I. So I got this I. Now what is my T? T over here is equal to x minus a upon I. That I can write it as d upon I, because I know my d is equal to x minus a. So can I get the value for t over here? That t is equal to x minus a upon I, where x is these numbers which I have, the terms which I am having with me. A is the assumed mean from here. This is my assumed mean. Then I is the number which is dividing all these deviations. Okay, then the difference, the division when I do for them, then I get d upon I, and that d upon I is equal to t. So getting the value for t from here, if I am dividing it by 1, then I will be getting -2, -1, 0, 1 and 2 only. This is the value for t. Now this t I am going to multiply. So please remember this thing. T has to be multiplied with the frequency. In this case, the frequency for all of them is 1, because no frequency mentioned. That means all the terms are occurring one times. Therefore, multiplying with 1 only, so you'll get the same value. And when you get this thing, it is ft, f into t. Please remember, f into t, summation you are supposed to calculate, and then you will have to multiply it with I. So for this, let me write it down this side so that it becomes even more clear for you all. This I has to be multiplied with the summation of f into t. So this is t and this is only f into t. Summation I calculate for it, it becomes 0 in this case. Okay, so this becomes 0, and then this summation part that is coming, that this f into t that I was getting, this is coming 0, the summation for it is coming 0, then this has to be multiplied with I value is 1, 1 into 0 is 0 only, therefore I'll be having my this thing that is a mean as a, that was 4, plus this is coming 0 upon frequency being 1 only, number of terms you consider frequency is 1 only, summation of frequency that makes it 5, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Summation of frequencies 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, that I get 5, and so therefore it comes out to be 4. Now what have we observed by solving this example with the shortcut method and with this one, that is a step deviation method? I got one particular thing, and that is by solving it with either of the methods I am getting the same answer, that is 4 in this case. That means you apply any of these three methods, direct one, shortcut method or the step deviation method, you are going to get the same value for the mean. That is why if calculations are lengthy for you, you find that numbers are given in terms of decimals or larger digits are there, try using the step deviation method, because there your calculation becomes simplified. If not the step deviation, do the shortcut method, and definitely you can apply the direct method also. Okay, so these were the three methods first of all that we have discussed for the mean, that is direct method, shortcut method and the step deviation method. Now after this we come to the distribution types that we have in this chapter. Okay, now distribution types you can see. I hope this much part is very much clear. There was nothing that was supposed to be explained, because we have already done it again and again. I am repeating the same thing, so that you have it in your mind that it's not typical. It's not something that is typical, because you have already done it. Only if you can just give a little focus on your mind, Okay. So after this now, let us see what types of distributions we have of the data which is given to us. Okay. Now simply the one which I showed you right now over here was, that means like this you can have a distribution chart where you will be having certain values of x. Okay, these are the values of x that you have, and frequency is not given only, that means frequency is 1 only, so there you don't have the frequency. That is a simple distribution. This type of chart is the simplest one, and you call it the simple distribution. Simple distribution is there. Now why am I writing it is because so that you can get an idea that what are the formulas that you're supposed to apply and how can it be modified. So when it is a simple distribution, then you have by the simple, that is the direct method, you have the mean as sigma x upon n. Will it be? Because you have sigma x and upon n is the number of terms which I have, because frequency is not given to me. Okay, then my shortcut method over in this case only becomes a plus sigma x upon n, because x again the same thing. I won't be writing f in this case because frequency is not there. Then by the step deviation method I have it as a plus sigma d. I will be having d by t. Sorry. A plus sigma I into t by n. Now why are we writing it like this? Because we were having a plus sigma fti. So f into t, f is 1 only because we don't have the frequency. So f into t we can write simply sigma t into I as it is, upon we are doing sigma f. What is sigma f? Yes, that means so we are going to write over here n. Is it clear? Okay, so this is the simple one, that is a simple distribution if you have of this sort. Now after the simple distribution you have got ungrouped data and you have got the grouped data. Now what and how are we going to solve them? So now when you have the ungrouped data means discrete, and discrete means that one particular value is there. Let us say 2 is there. Now this 2 is occurring 5 times. So the frequency of 2 is 5. Now we have 3 over here, that is occurring 2 times. Then I have got 4, that is occurring 10 times. Then I have got 5, which is occurring 2 times. And I have got 6, which is occurring, let us say, 4 times. So that means it is discrete. Why is it discrete? Because it is ungrouped. No grouping is there. I am simply having 2, 3, 4. Any other number I can have as the value of x. There is no class interval as such I am having. Class interval means the lower limits and the upper limits. Within that I am having my range that is there. So the range part I am not having. Therefore this is my ungrouped data. There is no grouping of data. So I call it as my ungrouped data. Formulas are going to be the same for the grouped one and the ungrouped one. Okay. So the x bar that is there, it is equal to, that is a mean is equal to sigma f x upon sigma f, because over here I am having the frequency also. This is by the direct method. Then by the shortcut method I have a plus sigma f x upon sigma f. Okay, no sorry, it is equal to a plus sigma, a plus sigma fd, because in this case I will be calculating the deviation part. Remember deviation one. So a plus sigma fd upon sigma f, and x bar, that is with the help of my step deviation method, I will be writing it as a plus I sigma f t over sigma f. Okay, I hope there is no problem with this one. Now after this ungrouped data we come to the grouped data. Now grouped frequency distribution is there, in which I have the groupings. Now the grouping can be of 2 types, exclusive and inclusive. And so all kinds of groupings which are there, you need to make them into the inclusive groupings. Now what is it? Let us just quickly see. Groupings can be there. That means I can have my distribution table like this. My class interval, I write it class interval now, that is Ci, and this is the frequency that is there with me. Now over here we are supposed to see few terms also which will come to us. Let us assume that from 10 to 20 it is there, then 20 to 30, then 30 to 40. Just 3 we are considering right now. And the frequency for them is 2, 3 and 4. Okay. Now there we were talking about x. Now where is the x in this case? So we will be finding out that x. Now how to get that x will be, I will be finding out the midterm. Midterm means the class mark. Class mark. You might have studied this term before also. If you haven't, then watch it right now. What is the class mark? Class mark is nothing but the mid value. How to get that mid value? So simply adding both the terms, what are these terms called now? This is a lower limit and this is the upper limit of that class interval. Lower limit, upper limit, lower limit, upper limit, lower limit, upper limit. Is it clear? Now, adding my lower limit and the upper limit, dividing by 2, because 2 terms are there, that means their average we are getting simply, or the mid value of them. Then that is equal to my what? Class mark. And that is the value for x that you have. So x you can simply get now, that is 10 plus 20 will make it 30 and 30 by 2 will make it 15, and we can see also in this case that yes, definitely 15 will lie in between 10 and 20. This will be the mid value. Then over here we will be having 25, over here you will be having 35. Okay, I hope there is no problem with this thing. It is a class mark. Now you got the value for x, you got the value for y, simply f, and you can apply the formula and get the values. That is for mean. Okay, this was the one kind of grouping that was there. Now another kind of grouping you might get is where you will be having terms like this. It will be till 19, then it will be. Now another sort of grouping that you can have is this kind, which is exclusively it is done. So it is 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39 you can have. Okay, now in this case what to do? So what we do in this case is we see the upper, now how to get, because these are not included, that means till 19 it is there and this is starting from 20. But what I want is, I want that both my upper limit which is there of the previous class should be equal to the lower limit of the succeeding class. Please mind it, we need to make it inclusive where both are having the same terms. Okay, so in order to make it inclusive, what I do is I find out the difference that is there of the upper limit of this class, that is the second class, minus, that means the difference we are calculating of the upper limit of the second class and the lower limit of the first class, like this, always like this, upper limit of the succeeding class minus the lower limit of the preceding class. So in this case, succeeding class is this one, second one, so this is there. So from this I take the upper limit, the lower limit, that means 20, minus the upper limit from this class, that is 19, that is coming this, and dividing by 2. Okay, this is the class size actually I get. Okay, this is not the class size, no sorry, this is not the class size, this is, I am getting 1 by 2 and that is 0.5. Generally, in general you will get 0.5. Okay, then what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Then what I am going to do is that I will be subtracting. This is a lower limit. Now how to remember it? See, छोटी चीज है उसको और छोटा बना देना है, और जो बड़ी चीज है उसको और बड़ा बना देना है. कैसे? कि ये छोटा था 10, लोअर लिमिट है, लोअर का मतलब ये छोटा हो गया, तो ये जो लोअर लिमिट है छोटी, इसको और छोटा बनाएंगे. दैट मीन्स इसमें से हम लोग 0.5 को सब्ट्रैक्ट कर देंगे, एंड दिस इज द अपर लिमिट. तो इसको क्या करेंगे, इसमें हम लोग 0.5 को ऐड कर देंगे, बिकॉज ये ऑलरेडी अपर लिमिट है, तो इसको हम लोग और अपर बना देंगे, और जो लोअर लिमिट थी उसको हम लोग और लोअर बना देंगे. दिस इज हाउ यू कैन लर्न इट. ओके, so that means 10 minus 0.5 will give you 9.5, and 19 plus 0.5 will give you 19.5. Over here you will get 19.5, 29.5, and over here 29.5 and 39.5. Now from this you can see that these two terms, that means the upper limit of the preceding class becomes equal to the lower limit of the succeeding class. ये तुमको चाहिए था और, right? So we got this thing. Excuse me, now you can find out the class mark with the help of class mark, using the formula, applying the formula, get the value for your mean, that is the arithmetic mean or the average. So this was the grouped frequency distribution that was there. Now this was the basic that was there. These type of questions you will be getting. Two more sort of questions you can get. The first one will be the corrected mean. That means they might ask you questions related to like this. That means sometimes they will be asking you like this, that let me show it on board only, that a certain number of terms are given, their mean is given to us. Okay, now they found out when cross checking was made that one term was miswritten. Let us say 10 terms were given to us, their mean was coming to be 25. Now on correction they found out, when they checked it, they found out that one term was written as 5 instead of 15. That means the correct value was 15, but they wrote it as 5. And in that case, when they wrote it as 5, the mean was coming 25. Now we have to find out the corrected mean. The correct mean that is there, that is what we are supposed to find out. And how to solve such questions? We'll be finding out the summation of them. How to get the summation? We know that is sigma x upon n is equal to x bar. Summation can I get from here? Sigma x could be written as n into x bar. Over here n is 10 into x bar is 25. I get it as 250. That is summation of x. I get 250. That means now in this 250 I'll be adding. Please remember, adding the correct value which is there. Correct value, that is a 15. So adding the correct value, subtracting the incorrect value, that gives me 260. Will it be adding the correct value in the summation and subtracting the incorrect value from the summation will give me the new summation of terms, and this new summation I'll be dividing with the number of terms to get my new mean. That means my answer in this case becomes 26. So this type of questions you will be getting where they will be asking you to find out the correct mean. You might also be having the questions where they will be having some values missing, either of x or of f. You'll have to find it out. That will be easier for you. And the last concept that you need to keep in mind while solving questions related to this chapter is that whenever you're going to add, subtract, divide or multiply, the terms which are there of the data which is given to you, of the table that is there, if you add, subtract, divide or multiply, that means if you perform any of these 4 arithmetic operations on the number of terms which are given, then the mean will also be added, subtracted, multiplied or divided by the same term. That means it will remain the same. That means if you multiply 5 this side, you will be getting the mean also multiplied by 5. Okay. So this was the last thing that we need to keep in mind, and then we wind up with this chapter, that is the measures of central tendency. You only have to do the mean portion in it. Median and mode is not there. Now we'll be quickly coming up with the second video that is there on the deviation, the mean deviation part, and then we'll be doing the probability part. That is going to be very interesting. So keep watching till then. Study hard, focus, work hard, and do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Okay, till then keep watching our videos.